Okay, we're going to go over solving systems using the method of substitution. Hey, I know it's a little bit difficult to learn by watching a video, but do the best you can today. Remember, you can pause the video at any point if you need to stop it so that you can write down a step, scrub back if there's something that you didn't catch. Just do what you can to make sure that you're understanding as best you can. Write down those questions in the margin and we will take care of those next week, I promise. Okay, let's get into it here. So the goal here with substitution, just like a substitute in a classroom, we're going to replace something with something else. So your substitute today is replacing me. In this case, we're going to be replacing some mathematical expressions. We're going to replace something with something it is equal to. Okay, so in the system of equations here, it asks us the question, what is y equal to? And I can see from this first equation that y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. So what that means is any place I see a y, I can substitute or replace it with the thing that it's equal to. I can replace it with negative 3x plus 8. And we're going to use this to our advantage to solve this equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this second equation and I'm going to rewrite it, but I am going to leave out the y. Okay, so let me go ahead and rewrite this. It's negative 4x minus 3, but I'm leaving out the y. I'll leave a big space there. And that's equal to negative 14. So that's the second equation, except I left out the y. Go ahead and pause the video and get that step down. And what do you suppose I'm going to put in place of this y? Well, I can put anything in place of y that it's equal to, and we know that y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. So let's put that in place. We're substituting for y. What we have now is we have an equation that only has x's in it, and we can solve that equation. So let's go ahead and do that. We do have parentheses here, so we're going to need to distribute to get rid of the parentheses. So this negative 3 is going to multiply by everything inside of the parentheses. Now be careful with your signs when you do this. Negative times a negative is going to give you a positive. So this is going to be plus. 3 times 3 is 9, and we also have that x in there. And then watch your signs again. That's a negative 3 times a positive 8. Negative times a positive is a negative. 3 times 8 is 24. And then I'll bring down the rest of my equation here. Okay, go ahead and pause your video and get that down in your notes. Okay, next up, looks like we have some like terms that we can combine here. We've got a negative 4x and a 9x. We can put those together to make a positive 5x. And now we just need to do a couple steps of algebra to solve this. So go ahead and try and solve this on your own, but I'm going to work through it as well. And then we'll meet on the other end. If you're not quite done yet, go ahead and pause the video and get those last couple steps done. Okay, we're doing great. We've got half of our solution. Remember, our solution has both an x and a y value. We found our x value, it's 2. We just need to go back and find our y value now. And to do this, we're going to do the same thing that we did when we were doing equal values. We'll go back to our original equations and decide which one looks easier for us to solve for y. Now, in this case, this first one definitely looks easier because it already says y equals. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this down. But this time I'm going to leave out the x because now I know what x is. So let me get it copied down here. It says y equals negative 3x, and I left a space for x, plus 8. And I left that space for x because I know what x is. X is 2. So now I can go ahead and solve this. Y equals negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. And negative 6 plus 8 is 2. So it turns out that our y solution is also 2. So we have an x, we have a y, and now we have our final solution. Go ahead and pause the video, look that over, make sure you understand all the steps, and then we'll move on. Actually, before we move on, I think it's a good idea for us to stop here and go ahead and annotate what we did. The first step that we did right here was we substituted. So this was our substitution step. Sorry for my messy writing. So that was our first step right there. Our second step was the long one. We had to solve. And that was from here all the way down to here. And then our third step here was we went back to our original equations and we substituted again. Okay, the two examples down below, I'm going to go ahead and work through these a little bit faster. So again, just keep pausing the video if you need to. Excuse me. So in this first system, I see y equals again. So I've got a value that I can put in place of y. That's awesome. So let's go ahead and take this and put it into the other equation in place of the y here. So I'm going to copy this second equation down, but I'm going to leave out the y. So the second equation was 6x minus, I'll leave a big parenthesis there, equals 13. And in that spot where the y used to be, I'm going to put the thing that y is equal to. So we'll substitute in 2x minus 1. I do like to have a 1 anytime that I have a parenthesis or a variable with no coefficient. So I'm sticking that 1 in there. I need to solve this. So I need to take that -1 and multiply it by everything inside. And since it's a negative, I'm going to be super careful with my signs. So -1 times 2x would be -2x. -1 times -1 is going to be a +1. I'm just going to double check because I know I make mistakes when I do negatives. Looks like we're good there. I'll bring down my 6x, my equals, and my 13. Okay, now we have an equation that we can continue solving. What do I see here? Oh, I see some like terms we can put together. 6x and -2x combined to give us 4x. And now I'm just going to go through the rest of my algebra steps to solve here. So we'll do -1 on both sides. And then divide by 4 on both sides. And I've got the first half of my solution. Again, feel free to pause and get all those steps down. Now I need to go back to my original set of equations and I need to pick an equation to substitute this in and find y. And since this first equation says y equals, that seems like it's going to be the easiest for me. So let me copy that down. Y equals 2x minus 1. I left the x out because in place of the x, I'm going to put the x value that we just found. Y equals 2 times 3 plus or minus 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. So we have found both an x and a y value. We'll go ahead and put that down in our final solution here. X is 3, y is 5, and that's another one done. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, again, pause if you need to go back and get any steps down. Feel free to rewind if you need to. One more to go here, folks. This one looks a lot different to me because I don't see y equals any place. But what I do see is I see x equal to something right here in the second equation this time. See how I've got x equal to this stuff over here? So that's what x is equal to. So this time I'm going to be putting that into this other equation, but I'm going to put it in place of the x because x is equal to this stuff. So it's going to go right here in place of that x. So let me copy that first equation down. And this time I'm leaving out the x because I have something that x is equal to. So negative 3x plus 3y equals 24. And I left a big space where the x was because in that space I'm going to put what x is equal to. Negative 4y plus 22. Okay. So we need to distribute the negative 3, again, being very careful of our signs. Negative times a negative is a positive. 3 times 4 is 12, and we've got a y there as well. Negative 3 times positive 22. Negative times a positive is negative. 3 times 22 is 66. And then we have a plus 3y equals 24. Okay, we need to solve that. What can we do here? Oh, I've got a 12y and a 3y that we can put together. 12y and 3y would make 15y's. Let's bring down the rest of the equation. Let's see, negative 66. Let's get rid of that. Let's do plus 66. Those will cancel. So I've got 15y equals 24 plus 66. I think that's 90, but I'm going to check on my calculator because it's early and I'm not feeling super great. It is 90, good. And then we can divide on both sides by 15. And again, I'm using my calculator here. I think it's going to be 6. Yes, it is 6. Okay, we've got half of our solution. We know that y is 6. We just need to find x. So I'm looking back at my original equations. And I actually think this second one's going to be easier because it's already got x by itself. So I'm going to bring this down and rewrite it. It's got x equals, and then over on this side, it's negative 4y plus 22. I'm leaving the y out though, right? Because I already have a number for y. So we'll take that value of y that we just found, and we'll put that in there. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. And negative 24 plus 22 is negative 2. All right, so we have our x and our y values now. So we have everything we need for our solution, which is negative 2 for the x, 6 for the y. Okay, I went through that very quickly. There's a good chance you're going to want to go back and watch maybe 1 or 2 examples again. Again, please make sure you're pausing as you go. And if there's something you don't understand, ask a neighbor, write some notes down in the margin about what your questions are, and we will address those next week. When you're finished, I'd like you to do the problems from problem 33. There's a few of them in there, and that's in section 4.2.1. And I haven't shown you how to check your solutions yet, so don't worry about doing that right now if you don't know how to. If you do, though, that's awesome. Go ahead and check them. Thanks for your attention, guys.